I realised how quickly we are losing Arctic sea ice, and if I didn't know that until I went looking for it, then quite a lot of people probably don't. She's nuts.
Is it going to be viable? Can you do it? She's ticked every box.
Have the confidence, the courage and the skill combined to actually go off and do that.
She's the best sailor I know, but there's no way that boat was going around the Arctic.
Now to a journey that was long considered impossible, but tomorrow, British sailor Ella Hibbert will begin her attempt to become the first person to circumnavigate the Arctic Circle without the support of any others.
Emblem in there.
So I am this summer going to be attempting the first ever single-handed circumnavigation of the Arctic Circle in an effort to raise awareness for Arctic sea ice decline and the effects of climate change in the Arctic North. I realised how quickly we are losing Arctic sea ice and how detrimental climate change is being up north, and I realised that if I didn't know that until I went looking for it, then quite a lot of people probably don't. So it sort of snowballed from there into this climate awareness campaign, which has led into trying to complete a circumnavigation, which in and of itself will prove how quickly we are losing the Arctic. The first one that really hit home was seeing the Great Barrier Reef when I was 18, turning 19. Seeing how whitewashed and bleached that had become. It was very much in your face everywhere you went, really.
Turning to how you prepare it, what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh, well, it's slightly different now that I've adopted the dog. There wasn't necessarily much of a routine before. Now my four-legged alarm clock wakes me up anytime between 5 and 6:30. So she's priority, and then we crack on with the day once she's been taken care of.
Get me good side. I mean, actually,
I'm not
mate, they're both pretty great.
I give him. Well, I'm Richard Crosswaite, or Rick the Pirate, as everyone knows me as. I started a company up last year called Blackbeard Marine, primarily doing electrical systems on boats. If Ella's got a problem, I just stick the wires in things and make it work. That's essentially what I do. We took it across the North Sea on the Sea Trout. We found a few things wrong with it, but they've all been squared away now. So the boat's going to absolutely make it. The weak point is always the person. I'm focused in helping Ella because she's got so much drive and she's really passionate about it, and I care about that she succeeds in what she wants to do. That's what's important to me, because she's a great sailor and she can do anything with a boat, but let's just say she's not so used to fixing a boat on the fly, and I just want to help her get across the line, sort of thing. Because the thing is, when you're out there, if something goes wrong, you need to know how to fix it. And when you're 200, 300, 400 miles away from well, me, or someone like me, then you've got to be able to sort of fix it yourself.
So, welcome to Yeva. This is the boat that I'll be doing the circumnavigation on, so I'm going to give you guys the tour. Starting at the back of the boat, we've got all of the sustainable technologies we'll be using to power the boat for the expedition. So we've got a water generator, a wind generator and a solar panel, as well as my hydrovane self-steering, which will power the boat rather than the autopilot when I've got enough of a breeze. Heading up the deck, you can see that Yeva's got 2 masts, which makes her a ketch. All of the sails on board are made out of recycled bottle tops by sponsors Jekyll's, the sail makers, which is pretty cool. Heading up here, we've got the tracking unit that will go live when I leave, that will enable you to see where Yeva and I are every day. That's from Yellow Brick Tracking. And then heading up the deck, watch your fitting, we've got these jack stays, which I can clip my lifelines onto to help me stay inboard in rough weather. We've got 3 air vents, 2 inside of the boat, which can be open or closed as needed depending on the weather conditions. The anchor, which will normally sit on the front of the boat, isn't at the moment. I had these bars fabricated to give myself a safe space to lean against when I'm working my winches up here getting sails up and down. Then we've got some jerry cans for additional fuel reserves, and then we've got the anchor locker in here where all the chain for the anchor sits, and the foresail at the front. And then I'll take you guys inside. So this is the cockpit where I'll be doing a lot of my helming. So I've had this wheel leather wrapped so that it doesn't get too cold to hold onto in the Arctic. And then heading on down below deck. Down here, this is what we call the doghouse, not least because of the boat mascot. So I'll be doing most of my steering from down here when it's cold or the weather's a bit rubbish. All of my electronic navigation instruments are down here, and behind the seat is where I keep all of my safety equipment so that I can abandon ship and grab that quite quickly if I need to. Down here we have the engine bay, which sits under here. Obviously dog and dog beds aren't coming with us. This is Rika. She's a rescue that I was only supposed to foster but caved and adopted. Not coming with me on the expedition, but very much here for moral support until I leave. Down here we have the bed, which I do currently share with the dog. On this side of the boat we have the galley, so I've got my hob and oven, as well as a really big fridge. In there is the sail locker, so that's where I keep a spare sail for each sail that we've got on deck, as well as my storm sails for heavy weather. And then this is the big conversion that we've done on board, courtesy of my dad. So this was a double bed when I bought the boat and is now the main storage area. So all of my food will go down this starboard side. We've got all of the multitude of spares that I carry on board and tools. This side is going to be a workbench with clamps where I can fix anything that I need to as well.
How do you feel about
Good girl, Rika. Smiling. I've been sailing professionally now for the last 4 years. I've always dreamed of going and seeing it myself, and the more I got into sailing, the more that led me to a way of being able to go and see the Arctic. So it stemmed from wanting to do the Northwest Passage originally, having read books like Erebus by Michael Portland and knowing the sort of history of the Northwest Passage. Then found my way onto super yachts as a deckhand dive master, so I've dived all around the world, and that's really what led me into ocean conservation, was seeing the detriments of our oceans from a diving perspective. That also led me to step away from super yachts, which I didn't feel aligned with, and find my way back to sailing. Such a munchkin. I'm going to miss her tremendously.
Is there anything you're genuinely worried about? Does weigh on your mind?
The reality of abandoning ship, if something went incredibly wrong and that became a reality I was confronted with, that would be incredibly concerning. You've got to be able to compartmentalise. I think that's probably the key. Specifically for sort of single-handed sailors, you haven't got anyone else to rely on, so you've got to rely on yourself. And being mentally there is a massive part of that. There's no point having the skills if you turn into a wet flannel when something goes wrong. So, yeah, I think it might get a little worse before it gets any better. For me, my finish line is the start line of getting out of here. I can sail a boat. Whatever happens up north is going to be dictated by outside factors. So the end of May is when I think, done, let's go, fun, go sailing. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited for, just getting out of here, yeah. Learned things like how to do stitches and staples, and put cannulas in my own veins to give myself fluids in case of dehydration. Morphine, if it ever came to that. I lived in 6 houses in 3 countries before I was 9. Taking risks is worth it. For us, it was the norm. The world is our oyster, and it's worth getting out there and actually seeing it. It's been hard work and it's needed perseverance, but we're setting off in 7 weeks. It was just the most indescribable moment.